No more doubts, I'm feeling alive. With every mile I leave the past behind, say and drive. This is my state of mind.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interesting episode of Science Drive Podcast, where we try to spotlight brain science and bring some of those research that are out there closer to us, translating them into some insights that we can use even to improve our behavior and even our daily choices. My name is Dr. Emmanuel, and I'll be hosting this episode of Science Drive Podcast. Today, we'll be talking about a topic that is very important, and that has to do with self-esteem as a psychological shield for productivity. We've long gotten to know that research, even across psychology and neurobehavioral science, has mapped this self-esteem thing as a performance variable. And so when people believe in their own competence, when they're able to express their worth, research has shown that it increased the cognitive bandwidth and also helped their decision making to improve more significantly. Most importantly, they have been able to also narrow it down to its effect on motivation, becoming more resilient. And so the question around this is, how do we then build this environment that's is able to strengthen this part of the brain that we know, which is the self-esteem, rather than erode it, as we know that it has a lot to do with productivity. Today, I'll be joined by a social psychologist, and that is the person of Dr. Emmanuel Agesin, who is the current head of department at the Department of Psychology, University of Ilorin, Kwara State. He's authored many publications, among which is the 2025 study that he published at the Nigerian Journal of Behavioral Studies on body image dissatisfaction, self-esteem, and psychological well-being among undergraduates. We'll be discussing more about this very research he had and that he published, and he'll be shedding more light on it today. Thank you so much, Dr. Agesin, for taking time to join me on the call today. Thank you for agreeing to share this insight about your research. So my first question to you will be, based on your research insights, you connected dissatisfaction in female students' body image with their mental state, their emotional well-being. Looking at some of the insights from this research and leveraging your expertise in social psychology, I want you to take us through today's beauty standard is influencing the way young people evaluate themselves and its psychological impact on the cognitive social capital. What I mean by that is that their performance, their confidence, their connection, and also their ability to engage fully in life.
Like you said, my research was actually on body dissatisfaction, body image dissatisfaction as a predictor of emotional well-being among university female undergraduate students. And I tried to look at self-esteem as a mediating variable. And what informed that is because where we interact with our students, most especially in university and high institutions, we discovered that not only even in the university, discovered that these younger generations are always glued to social media. And one thing we discovered is the comparison that happens when it comes to beauty standard. And somehow, because some of these female students are there and they have access to social media has actually amplified the way they look at body appearance. And they want to tailor their life. They want to use it as a form of evaluating themselves, self-evaluation, for them to be acceptable to society, and most especially for them to be valued, treasured. And this has implication on their psychological well-being. The assumption actually was that if you have low self-esteem, you are likely going to be influenced by how people assess your body. It's what we call up-wide self-comparison, where you tend to compare yourself to people who look better than you and use them as a benchmark to evaluate yourself. So this beauty standard, in quote, is being used by female students, according to my research, as a benchmark to determine how they assess, how they value themselves. And this physical assessment of themselves is not something that really predicts emotional well-being among them, because in most cases, they cannot be up to the standard they see. Most especially, in our social media like Facebook, TikTok, there is these algorithms where most of these pictures are being repeated. They are loaded with different pictures, and seeing it as a standard becomes a problem. So there is a wide gap between the ideal self and the real self. The real self is the perceived reality of whom they are, their shape, the facial look, the boots, the curves, and the likes. That is the ideal self. So if you are created, I don't want to sound religious, but your physical self, whom you are, is different from the ideal self that they want to be. And so when that becomes a yardstick, the experience, the psychological well-being become reduced. And so I hypothesize that body's image dissatisfaction could predict self-esteem, and that also could lead to determine the psychological well-being of female students. And
Thank
when
you so
these
much.
are predicted, according to my research, I discovered that. Okay,
No, go
are you
ahead.
with me?
Go ahead. Yeah, you can end it.
Yeah. So, and when you look at the predictive variables that I use, I found out that body image dissatisfaction actually predicts self-esteem and also predicts psychological well-being of the female student. How do I mean? Students with high level of body image dissatisfaction tends to experience low psychological well-being. Their mental health is distorted because in the reality, most of our students are not even close to the ideal body type they wish. They are not close to the ideal body image they envisage. And so that has led some of them to engage in some certain negative emotional behavior. And some of this emotional behavior they engage in is excessive dieting, excessive body exercise. And some of them even resort to use of what they call it, cosmetic alteration, because they want to look good, they want to look acceptable. And when that happens, and they are not acceptable, when they do that, their mental health, like I said, is affected. And some of those things they begin to experience is social anxiety. You know, they experience social anxiety, they experience what they call depression symptoms, and it alters their psychological well-being. It alters their psychological well-being. And in an attempt to control this, many of them still want to continue engaging in that exercise so as to probably become slimmer, and the alteration of the cosmetics they use to ensure that they look more attractive and acceptable. So some of them even decided to go on that result, and some of them have their body touched. Some engage in BBL, and it is pronounced today, and it leads to some of them, it leads to death. And eventually, it affects their level of concentration in school. So it affects academic performance. Then some of them also engage in what they call avoidance behavior. Avoidance behavior in the sense that when you feel that the standard used, the benchmark used to determine your level of acceptability or how attractive you are, has determined you not to be accepted. Many of them avoid social settings. They don't want to attend social functions, and they skip classes because they know probably their crush in the class might not consider them, and generally it affects their level of productivity. And so it leads to poor academic performance in school.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agesin. You know, when a researcher is speaking, you've almost answered all my questions. But again, I will still ask just to emphasize, and maybe we'll be able to still sift through some of those things again from some of the things you've said. I know that you've mentioned a couple of them. But my next question, which will be like a follow-on question, will be around that's generally speaking now. I know you focused on university students, but I want to take it beyond that. How or why does the way a man or a woman feels about their body have that much strong pull on their overall health? I know you've mentioned something about maybe even some of them, the consequential effect being dead or even some malformations in the system. So, and I also wanted to relate this to performance. You already mentioned something like that. That's why I had to quickly button that. Okay, let us take it to performance, even outside the four walls of university, even in our social life as individuals, as men and women, even at our workplace. How does this correlate with our performance, and what mechanisms kind of connect this as a psychologist? Yeah.
Okay. Let me try to expatiate. If we now want to use our findings from the school environment, I want to leverage on that and discuss what is obtainable in the workplace. When one is employed in an organization, you are expected to add value to the workplace. And how do you add value to the workplace? If, for instance, you are employed as a personnel officer, you guys sales and manage the employees, the marketing section, perhaps with customers, advise appropriately, market the product, etc., depending on the unit where one finds himself or herself. Now, when body appearance become an issue, and your energy that is expected to be expended in the workplace is now, the energy is directed towards self-monitoring. What I mean by self-monitoring is, channeling the energy to yourself, trying to want to look good. You always want to look presentable. It will end up draining your what you call resources. And here talking about personality, talking about the energy, talking about the what is expected of you to function effectively in the organization. So there is divided attention. And when you are drained emotionally, you won't be able to become productive. You can't be creative because most of your energy that is expected to be extended to bring about creativity in the workplace, to get engaged in decision making, those energies are gone already. Because like we are, the cross of the matter is you want to look good. You can imagine somebody that's probably because he or she want to look good or you want to look good, decided to visit the hospital for body structure touch, and doing that, you become you experience psychological trauma, and experiencing having psychological trauma because of what you passed through. Those people that went under razor, under what they call it, is this scissors, whatever that they use to cutting their body. One, they become unhealthy, and when you're unhealthy, you cannot be productive. Don't forget that the organization has expended more on you. Probably they have trained you, and they expected that you come back and replicate the exercise. But now you are not seeing another problem, which somehow affect your well-being. And when it affects your well-being, your productivity level will decline. And when it declines, your level of emotional stability become questionable. So you are not emotionally stable. Somebody that is not emotionally stable cannot be productive. Somebody that is not emotionally stable cannot relate well with co-workers. And in the social space, if you are not emotionally stable or you are experiencing what we call social anxiety, you find it difficult to even have friends and meet with people because one, you are not sure whether you are acceptable, whether you are okay. Even though naturally, people who are perceiving you, they are not perceiving you as if you are not even attractive in the first place, because there's a problem of perception. But because you feel within yourself, you've already evaluated yourself that, oh, my self-concept is down, I'm not looking good, because you have what you call those people that you use yourself to compare with. Those are the standard. And like I said, those standards most times are not something you can move close to. Because one, in terms of where we find ourselves, those of us in Africa, for instance, in southwestern part of Nigeria, we have the nature as is a factor, our upbringing, the food type is a factor. So most of those interactive factors determine our body structure. Compared to somebody who is athletic built, and you want to look like her, you want to look like him. So to me, I just want to say that some at times it becomes an effort that is wasted, because most times you cannot catch up with them. And so, like I said, in the workplace, it will affect your level of productivity. You can't discharge accordingly.
Thank you so much.
If you fail,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Agesin. And I want to take you on that last point that you just made, because I want us to also take it to the cultural aspect and also make these extrapolations. As researcher, I know your research was centered on Nigeria, and as researchers, we make extrapolations, and I want us to take this, relating it to African context and also comparing it to the global context. Do you think there are some societal factors or cultural factors that you already mentioned one? So I think you agree with me. So we think that what are those factors that make this body image pressure particularly unique to maybe some parts of the world? I don't know if we have more in Africa than in other parts of the world. I think they also experience it, but I want you to kind of juxtapose those two comparisons to where is the African, and if there are some cultural or societal factors that are playing that's unique, making that prayer kind of more unique to us. Go ahead, Dr. Agesin.
Okay, what I want to say to start with, there is what we call cultural dislocation. We need to accept the fact that the Africans, when it comes to interpersonal attraction, what attracts people in this part of the world is different from what attracts people in the Western world. People in America, for instance, in Britain, China, we are not the same in terms of physique. So it is strange for somebody to use a Chinese as a standard, an African man that wants to use Chinese as a standard of his or her beauty, acceptability, body structure, body type. So here, for instance, it depends. I won't say that I'm objective. So there is a measure of level of subjectivity. Because here, for instance, if some individual prefer ladies that are slim, but in most cases, in African society, they believe that when you look robust, it's a sign that you are well taken care of. So even when you are married, when you are newly married, you are slim, and it is expected that if you are well taken care of by your husband, your body structures will change in the next 6 months or 7 months. So it is strange for somebody at that level to begin to use somebody from the Western world as a benchmark of determining a body type. So if you look slimmer in African society, your husband may look at you like, oh, all my resources on you. Doesn't show. If you are married, for instance, your partners is here in Nigeria, the people who may likely even engage to you are the people that are, because there's what they call proximity and similarities. You are likely going to get married to somebody you are close to. You are likely going to marry from your neighborhood because you see They are likely to get married to workers in the same place because those are the people that they see themselves regular basis. So the chances are very slim that you marry somebody that is America when you are here in Nigeria. So those people, when they use the standard, so this lady look beautiful, but you look beautiful, but how sure are you that that person might be interested to get married to you in the first place? So I think the cultural factor is, what are those three things that we look at here? So if we look at how robust you are as a sign of somebody who is economically empowered or has been taken care of, good, you might look at it from that and the comparison will be there and become meaningful. But if your decision is to look attractive to the whole world, probably you want to become a model, and you know that the model, the product you want to advertise is not only meant for people from southwestern Nigeria, you want to go global, then I think it will be better for you to use that as a standard. But don't let us forget that culturally, it might not take you far, because those things that are available there might not be, in fact, it's not that they are not available here in Africa. Some that I want, some those that are interested in their body structure, body type, that they want to evaluate, we call negative evaluation of physical appearance, that, oh, I'm not okay, I don't look nice. But somebody outside there might look at you and feel like this is the type of person I'm interested in. So we might begin to look at it from that perspective. So culturally, the culture, individualistic lifestyle in the Western world, but we have collective lifestyle, collectivism in Africa. We still have that in place today. That if you look slimmer than you were before, people will ask questions here in Africa. What's hope you are not sick? Is there anything wrong? Open up to us. We are okay. What inform that question that is coming from these people? But in the Western world, nobody's going to ask them. So they are mentally, they'll be okay.
Wow, thank you
I
so
think
much.
that is the
Thank you so much, Doctor. And I like the fact that you really show that you're a researcher and also an African man combined. And I'm happy you're able to bring that quite relatable to us, bringing some of those very core examples and citing them and making us know that that side of comparison has to be very, very reasonable. Even if we want to look good globally, we still have to relate it to our cultural context. And one of the things that I liked so much about your paper was that you were able to you got the problem, you identified it, and you were also able to narrow down or seek through some solutions to it. You recommended some programs that universities could focus on, so as such as, I don't know, I think you'll be mentioning that, just to improve or help this body image appreciation. And so I want you to take it down to us now, and also extending it beyond the four walls of university where you carried out your research. Practically speaking, how do organizations, how do parents and guidance, how do university, which you already cited in your paper, make amends to this already identified issues, to convert this prayer, this body image prayer, this dissatisfaction prayer, into cognitive productivity rather than a psychological damage, just as you've explained today? Go ahead, Dr. Agesin.
Okay. Interestingly, even after I was invited, after the paper got published and I was invited, even in the school year, for similar presentation we are doing here, there will be improvement in whatever you do, and the people ask questions. And I think one of the way out of this particular problem, this prayer, is that, one, I want to speak from the parental group first. That parents, we are the closer set of people to our family members. Now, the level of acceptability or satisfaction that you want to get from your children, get from the younger one, should shift. That should be shift from our beauty, our body structure. Like asking your children, do I look good? Should be discouraged. We should be asking our children, the younger ones, well, because when you are doing that, they begin to internalize it, that acceptability comes from looking good. But if, for instance, you tell your child that, I think I'm standing well to carry myself and become influential in the society, then they begin to look at the value you intend to add to the society. We should not amplify beauty, because when we continue to ask questions like that, you are telling the younger ones that this is the real thing, this is what is expected, and they begin to look at that. So somebody who ordinarily supposed to be happy with a structure or with his structure begin to have problem even at younger age, because my mom look good, but when I compare myself to my mom, I'm not good. I'm not looking beautiful. I don't know. In fact, I'm not even smart. I don't look athletic. So that's a problem. We have to consider that. Then two, when it comes to organizations, schools, environment, and if possible, government, is to consider the policy that have to do with our social media. Because whether we like it or not, most of us spend like a part of our life these days on social media. So we interact, we are living in the virtual world. And those people we see there is because we have access to it. So government should regulate access to different social media we have. That there should be programs that should be acceptable, that people can have access to. I ask myself a question at a time, why is it that science, whatever I'm interested in, or what is bothering my head, I begin to see the algorithm that will come in. So it's like somebody's after me, and the same are being repeatedly, brought out, and people see. It registers in their brain. And don't forget about this cognitive there's a capital resources that is important. That is our ability to relate with people very well, the social norms and values in society. So we should be able to control that. When you control what people have access to, then it will also help them to experience stability. So government has role to play, school also have role to play. There should be programs in schools about our values. Our values before now in Africa, we grew up to know that virtue is important. Beauty is important, but virtue, the level of intelligence, and how dutiful you are, how virtuous you are more pronounced than beauty. You can be beautiful and you are not intelligent. That, oh, this person is highly intelligent, they celebrate it, not beauty. But what have you been able to accomplish?
Thank you so much, Dr. Agesin. And so that was an interesting conversation. So just before I let you go, I would like you to leave your final thoughts and more like a wrap-up message as a take-home for everyone that will be listening to this. Go ahead, Doctor.
My take-home for every one of us, the young ones, the young female students, or even people out there generally, is for us not to see our body as ornaments, but we should see our body as an instrument of what value we can create, the life we can touch, the people we can hug. We should not tie our worth to body structure. We should not tie our worth to beauty. The beauty standard will always be there. And like I said, once you are unable to meet up with that standard, it will affect your emotional, it will affect your psychological well-being. And our mental health is very, very important. That is not what you want to do when your psychological well-being get declined on daily basis, on the fact that you are comparing yourself to a particular standard that is not even determined by any government, not determined by you yourself, but because somebody that exists outside your world that you may not even actually have contact with or discuss with suddenly become determinant of your health. So that should be the standard. We should just know that the best measure of whom we are is the life we can touch, is the value we can create, and the positive energy that we can bring to the system. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. The best value or the best worth of who you are is the value you can create and the impact you're able to make. Thank you so much, Dr. Agesin, for that very grounding conversation. And thank you for taking out time to share those insights from your research at the University of Ilorin. And so everyone that is listening, you have heard Dr. Agesin, and what he has been able to say is to bring us closer to that reality. So that we should stop operating from this aspirations that sometimes may not really be the reality of things, and also relate that to our cultural context. So when we create an environment that strengthens a person's self-worth, we are able to just improve the person's motivations to life and even enhance the person's capacity to learn. Talking about students, talking about workers, talking about people who are at their productive age. We also improve individuals' capacity to lead, drive, to be productive, and even their potentials, and ultimately the value they're able to add up to the society. And looking at data extrapolations, which has shown us that human potentials grows, and this has been centered on where confidence is nurtured. When confidence is nurtured, when people have an improved self-worth, the potential of individuals grow. And this is a challenge to all of us. Just as Dr. Agesin has said, we need to build spaces online and offline that we can feel seen and valued, not based on appearance, not based on what self-image, but based on our potentials and our productivity, where we are able to be seen enough and move away from all this maybe fake it space thing. And this is a call to action to every university, every parent, every guardian, every policymaker, even every HR, that we don't center people's potentials on their appearance alone. Thank you so much, Dr. Agesin, for doing this research and bringing it closer to people and being able to share the insights with everyone. And to everyone that is listening, until next time, take care of your mind and stay sane. And don't forget to share this and also comment and make this known to a lot of people. These are research that is being done in 4 walls of university, but we need to bring it out, and because that is where translational research really exists, its ability to convert and make impact. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and bye for now.
Same drive, I'm on the same drive. No more doubts, I'm feeling alive. With every mile I leave the past